Harry's Wife, part 104.27. Let's podcast together. An article that comes from Cosmopolitan, written by Mahira Bonner, headlines with Harry's wife has reportedly put out request for Kate Middleton to be on her podcast. Well. What is this? Has she made friends with the nemesis? Are they now BFFs? Has Catherine's stone-faced approach at the funeral melted away, allowing her all-pervasive emotional empathy to wash over Harry's wife, who has embraced it in a spirit of olive branchness? You'll recall a few weeks ago that there was something of a concern that there would be no olive trees left because so many olive branches were apparently being offered across the sea towards Harry's wife. And now, Cosmopolitan is reporting that Harry's wife's put out this request for the Princess of Wales to be on her podcast. Is she reaching out with an olive branch? Well, first of all, let's find out the detail of what's purportedly gone on, and then I'll break it down for you through the prism of narcissism. Harry's wife has hosted a ton of celebrity guests on her critically acclaimed, I think you mean critically panned, podcrap, Arsey Wipes, but apparently there's one person still on her wish list. Kate Middleton. According to a new report in the Express, Duchess Harry's wife asked Princess Kate if she'd like to appear on the podcast during her recent trip to the United Kingdom. Reminder, the Sussexes and Waleses were staying just 5 minutes apart and made several public appearances together. So, quite how did she make this request? Because, of course, of the video footage that you've seen and that I have analysed, Catherine, expertly advised, was giving nothing, nada, niente, to Harry's wife. Didn't look at her, wouldn't talk to her, faced away from her, wouldn't walk next to her, bish, bash, boss, kiss, kiss, bang, bang, nothing for you. Accordingly, just how was this request? Perhaps she said it in the back of the car as they were driving to the Windsor walkabout. Hey, Catherine, would you like to be on my podcast? I think she didn't hear you above the noise of the engine, offers Ginger Bollocks. If she did ask, which I find it to be unlikely, Catherine would have simply ignored it and would have said, "What's that, William? Yes, I would love you to butter my crumpets later tonight." And, of course, she might have whispered it across the flowers as they were all looking. Hey, Catherine, do you want to be on my podcast? And then Catherine would have go, "Ooh, William, did you hear that buzzing bee then? Ooh, do shoo it away for me." Or maybe she wrapped it round, wrote a note out in her supposed brilliant calligraphy, which we all know is just cursive, with a few thrilly bits and curly bits added to it, and then wrapped that note round a brick and had it thrown through the window at where the Waleses were staying. Undoubtedly at that juncture, as it sailed through the window, William would have doubtless leapt across the room, caught it one-handed, thrown it back through the exact same hole and bopped Harry's wife on the back of the head so that his wife didn't have to see the ridiculous note that was written, and then immediately said to Jeeves, "Fix that window, my good man," and Jeeves attended there with the glazer. So it would be interesting to know how this message was actually conveyed. Of course, the bullshitometer suggests that it didn't happen, but Cosmopolitan apparently has got some specifics for us. Here are the specifics. Royal expert Neil Sean, for it is he, reportedly spoke to a source who said that while Harry's wife was staying at Frogmore Cottage, she put out a request to the Princess of Wales to appear on an upcoming episode of Archetypes. Apparently, Harry's wife even offered that Kate have the whole episode to herself. Sean added that in Harry's wife's eyes, this is because she based it along the idea of two duchesses, as they then were at that point, and of course talking about how difficult it is to run a family, work life, and work balance. Apparently, Harry's wife felt she and Kate were progressing in their relationship at the time of the offer. Oh, right. Is that the progressing of the relationship where Catherine wasn't talking to her, acknowledging her, or having anything to do with her? Progress indeed. And while she and Spotify team have yet to hear back, there's speculation that maybe Catherine could even fit it in when she returns over to the United States later this month for Earthshot. What do you think about all of this? I would welcome your observations naturally in the comments, but as I've been reading through this, here at Tudor Towers, this happened. Bullshit indeed detected. It stinks of bullshit. There's horseshit in there as well. Let's conclude what the article has to say before we dissect it through the prism of narcissism. I mean, the idea of Harry's wife and Kate doing a podcast episode together sounds amazing, but kind of too good to be true, especially since the royals are said to be in a full-blown spiral over Prince Harry's memoir, Spare, which drops on January the 10th. Plus, The Sun recently reported that William has barely spoken to Harry since news of Spare broke. But hey, just because William and Harry aren't speaking doesn't mean Harry's wife and Kate can't be on good terms. Yeah, no. Thank you for those astute observations. So, what's going on here? First of all, I sincerely doubt that any request was made. If it was, it will have been ignored, and that's the end of that. Rather, this is a revision of history. And what Harry's wife's PR is attempting to do is to see if there's any opportunity for cozying up with the Waleses, because they are coming to invade the United States next month. And already Earthshot is getting publicity, which is, of course, is a problem for Harry's wife, because the narcissist hates that attention is going elsewhere. Given the fact that all of the evidence shows that there is not a snowball in hell's chance of reconciliation, it seems absolutely ridiculous to suggest that any kind of offer would be made. Harry's wife's narcissism would have prevented her from making such an offer. Why? Because although the Princess of Wales comes up on her radar and the narcissism asks, is she under control? And the answer is no. This is going on in the subconscious, remember. It then has to assert control over her. And it would not do so with a direct approach because she's been repeatedly wounded by the Princess of Wales and her narcissism remembers those recent woundings. Basically, once bitten, twice shy. Now, the effect of the wounding doesn't last forever. It fades over time, and sometimes it can even be outranked by something, even if it has happened recently. But that's not the case here. And therefore, understanding narcissism, you would therefore know that there would be no approach made at the time. This was what's known as a hoover, a direct assertion of control over the Princess Wales in order to get control, to draw fuel, and the residual benefit of securing a podcast together. It simply didn't happen because her narcissism would not have allowed it. However, after the event, as part of the PR onslaught, her narcissism would revise history to confirm that this did actually take place when it didn't. And in order to do so, to start to try and assert control now through facade management. I've been reaching out to Catherine. I've been nice to her. I don't understand why it is, for instance, that when I do something similar to what she does, she gets praised and I get criticised. That doesn't strike me as very fair. Also, she expressed some sympathy with regard to why I went to Uvalde, see immediate part passim. And now I actually did reach out to her. I didn't hear from her. Perhaps she's just a big meanie and being horrible to me. After all, she did make me cry. I didn't make her cry. What is happening here is that her narcissism is revising history to continue to play the victim and to paint Catherine as the villain. I've tried to make nice with her, but she's ignoring me. Yes, the reason she's ignoring you is she's been expertly advised that that's what she needs to do. But of course, the narcissist, rather than go, I fully understand why the Princess of Wales wants nothing to do with me, I'm a narcissist and a nasty piece of work, her narcissism doesn't let her see that, and instead tells her, this is ridiculous. You've only ever been nice to Catherine. You tried to get her on the podcast. She expressed some sympathy for you. She was the one that made you cry and then came to apologise to you. And therefore, the actual fact is, she's the mean one here and you're the victim. She is the perpetrator of abusing you. Every time you try and do something nice and be pleasant to her, she rejects you. That's not very nice. Those of you that have been involved with narcissists will recognise this behaviour whereby, as a consequence of you perhaps losing your temper with the narcissist because of their behaviour, or retreating from the narcissist because of their behaviour, you are then painted as the person that started it. And what happens is, the narcissism edits the film. So the culpability section of the narcissist, i.e. what they did to you first, is stripped out and forgotten about, and the film purportedly then starts with your actions towards them. And therefore, in the mind of the narcissist, you're the one that started it, and then they go around and tell everybody else that without providing the full story. And that's causes to make you look bad as a consequence of smearing, and also directly to lambast you for your behaviour of why are you being so mean to me. So what we're seeing here is Harry's wife's narcissism in full effect as it seeks to portray Catherine as the problem and suggests that she's the one that's tried to be nice all along, and I don't understand why she has it in for me, and I don't understand why you lot all have it in for me by criticising me when I do just the same thing as she does. Of course, if you were not party to this excellent information about narcissism, you wouldn't have a clue what was going on. But you do, and therefore you are able to unravel these ridiculous pieces, which are based upon a fabrication, but a part of the need to assert control by portraying her as the victim and the nemesis as the problem. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.